Good morning, and welcome to the Media Speaks Live Saturday morning news show. I'm D. Lake for Prez, David Lake, reporting for the MediaSpeaks.com. I'm joined this morning by Anne Marie. Anne, how are
Hi,
you doing?
good. How are you?
Great. And we're going to get into some awesome topics today. And we're also joined by Sam I.B. DeGangi, Sam of the Correct Views, and the band Passing Time, Samuel.
Greetings, unsettled souls, and welcome to the Saturday edition. Yours truly has managed to chip his tooth, so if I take a call in the middle of air, I'm not crazy. I may have to take a dentist call. Otherwise, I'm on for the Saturday edition.
You may
Nothing
have
keeps
to.
us down, be like.
Nothing can stop us. We might start a little bit late, but that's fine. Sam had to talk to the dentist. They might call him back. Sam thinks he chipped his tooth. Now, Sam, just briefly, how did that happen?
I can even show you, as a matter of fact. I took a bite here of this fine chocolate Easter egg, and I think that I chipped the back of my tooth. It's miserable because you can't see the back of your tooth to see how bad it is, so it's always worse in your head. It's like a moon crater to me.
You can with one of those little dentist mirror things.
I need one. I'm like a dentist coward. It's gonna be terrible.
Okay. All right, great. Well, speaking of biting into things, today's lead top story is that Donald Trump eats pizza with a fork.
He's gonna chip his tooth.
He's also known to put ketchup on his steak, but that's a separate issue. We'll get to that one. It was reported this week in the news that John Kasich was seen at a restaurant in New York where the presidential candidates are starting to campaign in New York. Now, luckily we have Anne Marie with us, who's from Staten Island, New York, and so, Anne, can you just maybe briefly explain why pizza and the way that you eat pizza is so significant in New York to people that aren't from New York? And can we really elect a guy who eats pizza like this? And we have the picture of John Kasich on screen. Go ahead, Ann.
Well, pizza's huge. It's a huge thing. You don't have to just get a whole pie. It's huge. It's you go in, you get a slice, you get two slices. They usually sell pizza by the slice. Whenever I go out of state, it's like I have to buy a whole pie or a mini pizza or something. But there, you just go, you get a slice or two slices, and they toast it back. They put it back in the oven. It's crispy. You really don't need to eat it with a fork. It is like a cracker crust. It is so thin. You just pick it up. It's not sloppy. It hardly even like folds that much. I mean, these guys just don't want to get their hands dirty. But basically, you just pick it up and you eat it. I mean, and a lot of people eat pizza. Pizza's delicious. I used to eat.
Everyone, yeah, who doesn't like pizza? And Kasich, in his defense, when someone tweets out a picture of him, stabbing at the pizza with his fork, and we were kind of looking at the picture like, what's all that green stuff? Peppers maybe or something? And he says, look, the pizza came out scalding hot, okay? And so I use a little fork, said the governor of Ohio. You know what? My whole life, my wife, who was on spring break with my daughter, said, I'm proud of you. You finally learned how to use a utensil properly. But I mean, not only did I eat the pizza, I had the hot sausage. It was fantastic. So, I mean, and do you buy that excuse that it came out scalding hot, and do you like hot sausage?
Yes, hot sausage. I like sausage better when it's hot and spicy. And
Yeah.
usually on a pizza, I would get pepperoni. I mean, I don't get anything usually else. I usually just like pepperoni.
Pineapple.
Ugh. And
Gross,
that
Sam. Yeah, I don't like Hawaiian style. I don't like pineapple on my pizza. I've tried it, But here in this top picture, GOP presidential candidate John Kasich realized too late that eating pizza with a fork was a bad idea because he got blown up on Twitter. So there he is, eating pizza by the slice. He's picking it up and he's eating it. He's like, ah. And when the news reporters were calling him out, he's like, "Listen, young lady, I've been eating pizza my whole life since I've been eating pizza since before you were born." And but Kasich isn't the first to fumble with pizza etiquette, Sam. New York native and GOP frontrunner, the frontrunner, Donald Trump was caught eating pizza with a fork and knife during a meeting with Sarah Palin at the famous Famiglia chain in Times Square.
You see,
Familia.
I'm like a travel freak. Remember, it was a big deal. We got the Chicago pizza when we made the documentary for those.
Yeah, that's right.
So check
We
it
did.
out. becoming Paul Revere. My favorite place in the whole world is New York. I warned my wife that I'm the opposite of everyone else. I went to live in New York City, and I planned to do this. And if she wanted to be with me, she had to accept it. She's never been there. The pizza there is amazing. But I'll tell you this. And then of course you've got you can talk about my fatso side is coming out. The in Pennsylvania they put the toppings usually on top of the cheese, which is different. I mean, I'm sorry, under. And then I think no matter where you are, you've gotten that pizza that is so unbelievably messy. You got to eat it with a fork. He's wearing a white shirt. I personally would eat it with a fork if I was wearing a white shirt. And
you're there with Sarah Palin. You're wearing a white shirt and a nice tie, and you don't want to stuff a big giant napkin on your face, and they eat it with a fork. I've eaten pizza with a fork. Come on.
If he does have green peppers or hot peppers or something on it, absolutely. Otherwise, you're going to wear it. You're going to wear it.
Right now, I don't normally eat pizza with a fork. Let me just be clear.
Not normally, no, but I've had to before, and if I was dressed like that, you bet your ass I would.
But you know what? It'd be less embarrassing to put like a bib on, like a bib napkin. I mean, than eat it with a fork. Like, look at lobster.
Is less embarrassing than a fork? Come on.
No.
If he was eating lobster,
and I think
those rest of bib, you say,
something tells me Mrs. Obama eats it with a slingshot, so I mean, it's the least of my worries.
And what were you saying? Could you say that again? Because you froze up for a second.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, this. If he went to a lobster restaurant and he was eating something really expensive, like lobster with butter sauce, I've seen, like, rich guys with the bib around, and they're not embarrassed by it. So it's pizza. It's only $2 a slice. Put some napkins if you're worried about your shirt.
I'm telling you, I gotta be the one. Someone's gotta break this argument up. And
like if you look like a mushroom or something, it's gonna go down your like little bib and onto your dress pants.
Yeah. Look, in the Twitterverse, a picture of you eating pizza with a bib is 10 times worse than eating pizza with a fork. I guarantee it. A presidential candidate eating with a bib, that is not going to
be comments, friends. We need comments. We need it decided. Are there times that call for drastic measures, such as using violence, such as using harsh language, or such as eating pizza with a fork? You decide.
You know what? Let me just say this. You want to look like you're one of the people. I mean, maybe don't wear a suit. Okay. You're going to a pizza restaurant. Who wears suits to a pizza restaurant? I'm sorry. You could walk in, and even in Texas, too. You could walk in, like at the Riverwalk, they had expensive restaurants for tours. You could walk in with blue jeans, and it was great.
Didn't he just stop on his speaking tour for a piece of pizza? I mean, he probably was speaking that day or something.
Well, then bring an extra shirt. They probably have an extra shirt, and I bring extra clothes for my son, like an extra shirt or something, like if he gets messy. I mean, I'm sure they must have an extra shirt in their bag or something. I mean, it's a pizza place. I mean, I say look like you're one of the people. Pick it up. Don't be afraid of getting your hands dirty. And
he's picking up the slice right there, though. I mean, he's aggressively grabbing a big slice. Now, but it looks thin crust. And what about thin crust, and what about folding? Because they said
my wife's a folder. Now you've done it. Now see, now we've got a whole other topic. She's a folder.
Kasich broke another rule when he didn't fold the pizza like real New Yorkers do. And you're a real New Yorker.
Well, I'll tell you, they're so thin. The thin crust has gotten even thinner. Like the last time I went home, it was even thinner. It's like a cracker. I mean, they practically don't even fold anymore. I mean, they're so thin and crispy. You could just pick it up. It's like a cracker. I mean, before.
But it's kind of soft and they fold it.
Right, but now it's even thinner. I mean, you could just pick it up. I mean, I usually just pick it up and eat it. I never had a problem getting it all over myself, and I'm a girl. I mean, you think that I'd be worried about getting something?
Yeah, but see, I eat more like an animal than a human being, so I'd wear it. I tell you.
Just give Sam a trough, and he'll be okay. Speaking of food and speaking of Sam, I had lunch this week for the first time at a new place It's been in town for a really long time, but it's kind of off the beaten path of where I work. But my manager said, I'm getting lunch today, so we're going to go to the Grinder. I've never had that. Well, pick what you want, and we're going to go there. And so I went to the website, and I'm on the website, and I go to their About page. The Grinder opened its doors as the Ganges Grinder, Sam.
Really?
The Ganges Grinder.
Do me a favor. Do me a favor. You have to do it probably off air. I need to know, like, that I've been told that it's such a rare last name that I am almost always related to them in some way.
All right. I just sent you the link in the chat. So the Grinder opened its doors as the Ganges Grinder on July 3rd, 1963, before Sam was born. Peter DeGangi, Sam, owned and operated the Grinder until 1988 when he retired and leased the business to his manager, Bob Helt. You could still run into Pete at the Grinder until he passed away in 1994. When Pete passed, Bob and his wife, Margaret, purchased the business. Now, here's the part I want to get into because it kind of relates to the pizza argument. Since then, Bob and Margaret, the new owners, have made a few changes to enhance their business. The first change was to open the business 7 days a week. Good call. They made half sandwiches available and decided to give the option of putting bacon, pickles, mayonnaise, and mustard on the sandwiches. Pete would turn over in his grave. Pete DeGangi would turn over in his grave, Sam, at the thought of mayo or mustard on one of his sandwiches. He once kicked someone out of the store.
The mayo and mustard suck. The quickest way to ruin anything is to put mayo and mustard on it. We are related.
And he once kicked someone out of the store for even asking. Even though they offer some new items, they strive to ensure if you ate at the Grinder 40 years ago, you could come back today and remember the flavor of the past. And then they say that the BLT, the bacon, lettuce, tomato, was added to the menu about 10 years ago. In addition to sandwiches, they now offer a sandwich in a bowl. So you don't need a fork. You don't need. Oh, now you need a fork. You can have any sandwich ingredients on the bed of lettuce of your choice with oil and vinegar or ranch dressing on the side. Now, I got the hot pastrami. I didn't want to ask for anything other than what they normally put on, which is like lettuce, tomato, salt, pepper, and oil. And that's the way Peter wanted me to eat it, so that's the way I ate it.
And was he right? Was he right?
This is the Make Everyone Hungry show. Yeah, let's go to menu. Let's get a good look at the, here's what I had, the hot pastrami, and he was right. It was delicious. It was great. It was marvelous and wonderful, and, like, the pastrami was so good that, and the oil on, you know, it's one of those flavors that just kind of stays with you for a while. Like, really, really good.
Well, I hate mayonnaise. I absolutely hate mayonnaise. I think mayonnaise is really disgusting. I'd rather have oil and vinegar or just mustard or something like that. But, see, this is where, like, the libertarian view of individual rights comes in. Because you have a right to, I mean, like, that's why I always say, like, I like the libertarian view of, you know, my rights. Like, don't impede on my rights. As long as I'm not hurting somebody else. And
as long as you're not hurting anyone else.
I mean, let me get what I want. This is the difference, though, between what I believe about libertarians, because I would fully be a libertarian if it wasn't for this. I don't want to leave my rights up to a corporation. Now, that's where I split from the libertarians. I believe for private citizens, that I want the government not to impede on my life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. And as long as it's not impeding on someone else's life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, that's where I love libertarian values. Where I differ from libertarians is when they say corporations. Leave it to the corporation. Because look at this. You leave it to this sub sandwich guy, and he wouldn't let you get mayo. Now that's like ridiculous. And really, like, you know, corporations shouldn't. I don't want any. I hope everyone.
No, but that's unfortunately common among restaurants. There are, if you ask for A1 steak sauce at a 5-star restaurant, they have a fit.
Right, you have to bring your own. I think somebody.
What if you're like Trump and you put ketchup on your? You want ketchup at the 5-star restaurant? Trump puts ketchup on steak. I'm telling you, it's
He
a big
should
thing.
have. He should have it. He should have it. Whatever you listen. As long as it's not hurting someone else. I mean, then you should have it. You have a right to it, and you're paying for this meal. But that's why I really wish people, like we were talking about the NAFTA and everything else, just don't leave things to the corporations. You can't. This is like like I said before. If you leave things to the corporations, some issues, they're not going to look out for you and your individual rights. I mean, do you really want to leave it to the hands of rich people? They're going to they only care about their profits. They probably wouldn't even give you 2 napkins. If they'd give you 1 napkin, it was cheaper. So that's where I really wish that libertarians would change and maybe and I understand why libertarians go for Republican, because that's the Republican view. It's actually more progressive Democrats that are saying to corporations, no, we shouldn't leave everything to you. But there's a big split there for me, because I'm part libertarian in the private citizen. I want my own. I don't want the government overreach. Like, government overreach is that. Like, when, don't impede on my rights. Don't impede on my individual rights. You see what I'm saying? But government overreach is when they deny for the whole country. That would be government overreach. You see what I'm saying?
Or they mandate you must have mayonnaise on your sandwich. You'll be like, no! What about this? What about this, Emery? Ruth Sherlock tweets out on Twitter, Trump came into the steak restaurant I was in. He ordered a well-done ribeye steak. Well done? Well, he likes a steak well done? And there's a picture of someone holding up a sign at a rally. Trump eats a steak well done, and then adds ketchup. And so going back a little bit, could you just imagine if he wanted a bib, if he was wearing a bib? You don't think that would just blow up on Twitter? Come on. Sammy, what do you think, Sammy?
I also don't like ketchup very much. I'm an A1 steak sauce person. I like A1 on everything. This is where people are going to hit unsubscribe. Even if I have prime rib, I like to have some bites of it the way the chef made it, and I like to have some bites with it with A1 steak sauce. That is considered blasphemy, heresy, the worst thing you can say. It is better to insult the chef's mother than to put A1 steak sauce on his prime rib. So it's like
prime rib. I don't know about prime rib. Prime rib, I like au jus and.
I like that too. I don't want to slather the prime rib in it. I like it on the side because some bites I'll dip in the au jus and other times I'll dip it in the A1.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to hide it, or you're tarred and feathered or something. I don't know.
And that's Sam's civil right. Is that one of his rights, Ann, to do that? I mean, should he be kicked out of the restaurant for that?
Oh, exactly. That's his right. And I mean, I like Cholula sauce. I started.
Yeah. What about Scotty B's sweet habanero? What about that? Yeah.
I've never had that.
I got it at a street fair.
You ever have ghost pepper sauce too? That's cool. Everybody watching our show is gonna be like, "What's with these people?"
Yeah, no, I like Tabasco on my eggs. When I was a kid, I used to put ketchup on, but I don't like ketchup anymore because I used to have to drown my mom's meatloaf in ketchup just to eat it. So now I don't like ketchup anymore. I don't get it on my burgers or anything like that. Maybe my French fries.
But see, I like to mix it sometimes in the ketchup, the hot sauce, like Frank's hot sauce or Texas Pete hot sauce. And I like it plain usually, and I eat like a lot of egg whites, which are very plain. So I have to put hot sauce on my egg whites. I have to.
I'm with you. Yeah, eggs are good, but they're kind of plain. You gotta put a little sauce on there. I mean, come on. We got viewers jumping in and out. They're not so sure about this. They're like, hot sauce on eggs? Wait a second. Steak?
Good.
How do you like your steak?
Hot sauce on eggs is great, especially in the I recommend Woman Scorned. So good.
Ooh, I gotta look at it.
You recommend what? Woman Scorned?
Such a good hot sauce, yeah.
Oh, that's a hot sauce. Okay. And real quick, if the three of us went to a steakhouse and I have the blue rare, medium well done Sam, how would you order your steak, and then Ann?
Steak, medium, hamburger, done.
Okay. And Ann? We're at a steakhouse now. What are you going to get?
Well, whenever I go to a steakhouse, I don't care where it is, whenever I say medium, they always have it well done. I don't know why. I always say pink in the middle, like make it like at least pink in the middle. And it always comes out
you would
real
say
well.
like maybe medium rare. Medium rare?
Yeah. I mean, I usually just say medium, and some restaurants actually have on the menu like that they can't make it, you know, too red in the middle or something. It depends where you go, and they never listen. They always make it. They always overcook it wherever I've gone.
Yeah, I'm with Sam though, because like if I'm at a fancy steakhouse and I ask for medium, I expect it, you know, to be perfectly medium, because it's a fancy steakhouse.
Will you send it back if it's not?
I don't know, because I went to Fuddruckers the other day and got a burger medium rare. It was just too pink, and I wasn't happy. But I should have.
See, that's okay though. With steak, I can go the other direction. I know it's not healthy, but I don't eat it that often. It can still be mooing. Like, I don't care if you walk it through a warm kitchen and knock its antlers off. That's fine. I don't want my steak too done.
All right. Well, how do you want your planet? And let's shift gears and talk about global warming. Do you want your planet well done, or medium, medium rare, rare?
I do know this. There's nothing man can do to change the way it's going.
Now, Sam, you're fond of one of your favorite sayings, that man-made global warming is a lie. We said we wanted to talk about global warming last week when the issue sort of got brought up, but we wanted to get a little bit more into it this morning. And why don't you go first? And I had just a brief something that I wanted to say about it. Go ahead.
Okay, well, the whole thing, I mean, we could start off with the greenhouse effect.
I'm hoping this is going to have you and Sam battling.
We will.
Okay.
Because
great.
I just want to break it down. The great greenhouse effect is like a greenhouse. For people who don't know this, the sunlight comes in the greenhouse gets hot because the sunlight doesn't reflect back out. And that's what's happening in our atmosphere. So it's acting like a giant greenhouse around the Earth. You could Google like greenhouse effect if you want. Now
way ahead of you.
Okay, now what I want you to go to is, if you can, it's climate.nasa.gov, and there's also a PDF I want you to go to too, which is I should have told you this before the show, but it's two things I want you to go to.
Mm-hmm. So if I'm on climate.nasa.gov, what are we looking for? Arctic minimum carbon dioxide, global temperatures up. Arctic ice.
Go down all the way down. Let's see. It was like at the bottom.
What is climate change?
Let me see.
It's a cool website.
Oh man, I don't know where it is. It was like there was like a graph for CO2. It was like a graph of CO2. You had it last time we were looking at it. I don't know where it is.
Facts. Articles. NASA's role. Solutions. Explore. Resources. Evidence. Do you want to go to evidence?
Yeah, it was a cool
How's this look? For centuries, atmospheric carbon dioxide has never been above this line, and the current level shows it well above the line.
All right. Yeah, that's the first page graph shows the CO2 levels going up.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now go all the way down to global temperature. Let's see.
Global temperature rise?
Rise?
Warming oceans, shrinking ice sheets. Now, are they blaming my SUV for this, or what's the deal?
Yeah, basically, it's not just your SUV. I mean, it's, you know,
I don't have cows farting in my yard, so.
But it's really like the power companies that are burning this CO2. I mean, they're making the CO2 by burning fossil fuels. So like they're burning coal, and that's what's causing this CO2 level to rise. I mean, it's not just us in America; it's worldwide. And you know, we were talking about corporations aren't people, and corporations don't care. They only care about profits. And you know, and we're losing our jobs because the corporations are paying so little to people, you know, in China. Well, also, there's factories in China that aren't very regulated, and people don't even want our government regulating our factories here. And if they could save 2 cents on a filter, they're going to save that 2 cents. They're not going to care. And this is like giving off massive amounts of carbon dioxide when they burn off these fossil fuels. So that's causing the carbon dioxide levels to go up. Now, you know, that's why when politicians say no regulation of these private businesses, they want no environmental regulations.
Well, I mean, haven't some of the environmental protections kind of gotten a little bit out of control? Like a puddle forms in your yard, and now it's a lake, or your pink pigs are boars, or I don't know.
Right, but what I'm talking about though is this specific thing about global warming, and especially the Republicans. They are bought by these lobbyists. They're told to fight this. They want to fight environmental regulations. I'm not talking about the smaller things. I mean, I could agree with that stuff. What like I said before, what I split with the libertarian, I have the libertarian viewpoint for private citizens. Don't impede on my rights. Don't, as long as I'm not impeding on someone else's civil rights, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. But where I differ from libertarians is don't go towards the Republican viewpoint on this. Don't say leave it to the private sector. Don't say leave it to the corporations. Because guess what they want? They want to leave it to the corporations to make their decisions on what? Everything. I mean, one of these things is environmental regulations. And they're saying, the lobbyists are saying, don't let it go through. Because then they would protect our planet. I mean, they could filter these things better. They could do everything better. But if it costs, like I said, a penny more, they're not going to do it. So, like, I wish that, I really do wish that libertarians, I can't even call myself now a libertarian because I don't agree about leaving things to the corporations, to the corporate side. And if anyone watched our NAFTA video, I explained why you don't want to leave things to the private sector, leave things to the corporations. You don't want rich people to rule over you or rule at these corporations because they're not looking out for your best interest. And your best interest here is you want jobs in this country. That was the whole NAFTA video. You want jobs in this country? Well, guess what? At that air conditioner facility, they were making a profit. There's articles right now. They closed that factory, and they were making a profit here in America. You know why they moved? They moved because they could make more of a profit. So you leave things up to the corporations. That's what they care about, is making more of a profit. Now, these power companies are burning fossil fuels. That causes CO2 to rise up. There's an increase in CO2. And that has increased the surface temperature, and it's increased the ozone in the troposphere. Now, the troposphere is the first layer of the atmosphere. Now, let me just say this. That's not supposed to be that way. You're not supposed to have an increase or any of that increase of the ozone in the troposphere. It's supposed to be higher up in the sky. Where is that coming from? It's coming from the increase of carbon dioxide from these power factories, these power companies that are burning fossil fuels, which is increasing carbon dioxide. And there's graphs on it. There's NASA.gov. There's also, I'm going to have you go to, when you get a chance, the National NOAA. There's a chart, a National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. But let me just say this. People have to understand what the greenhouse effect is. You have to understand that these politicians keep asking for regulation, no regulation. I mean, what is it? You got Democrats saying, yes, we need regulation.
You keep talking about, I'm going to jump in for a second. The greenhouse effect, that absolutely is not happening. It is a natural cycle of the planet. There have been times throughout history that we can tell from the fossil record and the archaeological record that have been far warmer and far cooler, that were eons before the invention of the combustion engine or anything man is doing. There have been times when there have been far, far more carbon dioxide in the air than there is now. And there weren't even people here. This has been a regular occurrence forever. The other thing is carbon dioxide does not kill off plant life. It was, I forget who the scientist had, but I'm sure you can search it at EIBnet. Rush Limbaugh had a scientist on that was talking about the carbon dioxide on the side of the road.
Isn't that what plants breathe?
He said if you take a stoplight at a busy intersection, they will have the hardest time, without fail, of keeping the plant growth, weeds, whatever, from growing all over the street, as opposed to a light that never sees any traffic at all, where a lot of times the side of the road is just dirt. That the entire concept of the greenhouse effect isn't causing any warming. The data has proved that first that we haven't warmed in 17 years. But when you span the whole cycle, you can see that we haven't changed at all. What they've done is taken a very small segment of the globe and applied it as a blanket fixture for the whole thing, which is why you haven't seen any of their predictions prove true at all. Man is definitely not warming the planet with anything. It has been far worse in times before we were here.
No, that's totally not true. Now listen, let me tell you this.
Oh, she says it's totally not true, Sam. And what about volcanoes? Okay, here we go. You guys are getting into it.
Wait a second. Listen, climate change deniers always. They
I think she just called you a climate change denier, Sam.
Climate change denier. We always
You are a climate change denier, and she
absolutely.
Listen, they always want to go back 20 years. They always say that. Look back 20 years. Look back 20 years. Let me tell you this, what happened 20 years ago. You want to, listen, this is the main thing. The surface temperature of our planet has risen. It's not supposed to have gone up that much. Now, climate change deniers always say, go back 20 years. Go back 20 years because it hasn't risen that much. Well, let me tell you why. 20 years ago, there was a horrible El Nino, and this was a natural occurrence. This is something that happens on our planet. We get an El Nino, and if you look at graphs, the temperature was extremely high that year. If anyone remembers 20 years ago, it was hot.
We say El Nino here every year as El Nino.
Okay, but 20 years ago, this is why they specifically say that. They always say, well, look at 20 years ago. Let's compare the temperature now to 20 years ago. You can't compare the temperature now to the graph.
No, I'm saying throughout all of history, there have been times before man was even here that have seen higher increases at a much faster time period. It's not related to anything that man does.
Yeah,
that's based on fossil evidence or what? Because we didn't have all the same tools of measurement then, Sam, if there was no humans.
No, I mean, fossil records and archaeological records, they could tell the temperature data in the way that it's degraded.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, when you look up work of like Lord Christopher Monckton, where he shows the RSS set, I've got this from New American. D likes the fast one here. New American climate expert Lord Monckton, global warming ceased. And he gives proof about how the RSS satellite data set shows no warming at all. And he does do the going back to 20 years. But if you read the other study that came out from NOAA that's by the same people that did the New American piece, they have proved that this has been far worse in other time periods, long before man created the engine at all. There's no science to prove this is happening at all. Zero.
First of all, you can't listen to any of that data. That's garbage. Throw it out because they didn't even start looking at this until like later on, like the 1900s. There's only they listen. I go by
No,
you.
but they could find it because they could tell how hot a temperature was or what the climate was by the way plants particularly have held up in like rock and shit. I don't know how they do it, but they can.
Okay, but this is what I look at, and this is what I do. I only look at the facts of what NASA.gov tells me and NOAA, and they have started tracking this maybe like in the 1900s, and the temperature of the surface has gone up. The carbon dioxide has gone up. The ozone in the troposphere, there should be no ozone there. It should be higher up. The temperature has gone up, and if you see an article where I don't go by articles, I go by science. I go by the scientific consensus.
Well,
I don't.
that's what the article is quoting. It's not somebody's opinion. I have another one from New America. This is the original one I was looking for. February 8th, 2016. Climate alarmists have been wrong about virtually everything. It goes on to give all the different ways, I mean, of all the different scientific studies. Dr. John Christie, professor of atmospheric science and director of Earth System Science Center at the University of Alabama, analyzed 73 UN computer models. I compared the models with observations in key areas, the tropics, where the climate models showed the real impact of greenhouse gases. I wanted to compare the real-world temperature with the models in place and the impact that it would have to be very clear. Using data sets and temperatures from NASA, the UK Hadley Centre for Climate Prediction and Research of University of East Anglia, NOAA satellites measuring atmospheric and deep oceanic temperatures, and a remote sensor system in California, he found all show lack of warming in the past 17 years, which is the time. Wait, let me finish. It's the time period that they said to use to prove it. They were the ones who said that it had to be within the last 20 years, and that's an important point here. It wasn't the climate deniers that said.
That goes in the garbage because 20 years ago, like if you want, listen, that was
but that's not true because they're the ones the people that believe in global warming are the ones who are using this to say that's the time period that we have to use. So when the deniers use it, then they say the 20-year thing was blamed on El Nino. But yet when we bring up proof that it's been going on for thousands of years, then the people that believe in it want to go back to the damn 20 years.
No, we're going back to there's charts and graphs on NOAA, there's NASA.gov. What I go by is the scientific consensus, and they have charts where it shows, it goes like this. Whoop. It's like the temperature, the surface temperature of our planet has gone.
If you skew it and you look at one area like they did, it is not true globally. It has been dispelled time and time again.
I think that there's a, listen, what I think is it comes down to money. It comes down to corporations, and yes, there's always better things they can do. Just like right now, would you want to drink water out of your tap, or would you rather go get a Brita water filter? But the thing is, though, that costs money. And if you're on a budget, you might not want to buy a Brita water filter. But that you could improve your tap water, and they're saying that's safe for you to drink.
We used to, I'm not going to say who they are, and David Lake knows why, because they ripped us off. We used to have a sponsor where you could buy a water filter bottle for $1.99, and it worked for like, I don't know, 1,000 gallons or something ridiculous if you wanted to do it. Now, I do believe, let me state firmly, I do believe we need to get away from fossil fuels. And now all the deniers just got pissed at me. Because I do believe we are giving each other lung cancers like insanity. People that have never smoked, lung cancer. We're seeing it all over the place. That is from the combustion engine, friend. I believe it wholeheartedly. But I'm sorry, we are not warming the planet. But I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. That is where we do agree, love. Absolutely, at that point, we need to get away from them. I just don't think we're warming the planet. It's a money scam to say we are warming the planet. This is an excuse to tax you on gasoline. And it's an
carbon credits and all that.
Energy costs. The people that are trying to sell this crap are the people that are going to charge you far more than the people who are like myself saying it's BS. You're going to end up paying more with these idiots. Not you. I meant the scientists, by the way. They're going to end up paying more when these idiots are done. They're saying, oh, well, we need to make sure we have a certain gas tax to make sure that people drive less or to pay to plant new trees. Or we need to make sure, oh, here's another great idea. Let's make sure that the price of energy goes through the roof because of global warming. They're the ones that are going to cost us more.
But this is the thing. I mean, at one time, there was a scientific people. Another thing global deniers say, warming deniers say, is that this is like the scientific consensus, and that you know, what I say to that is, at one time there was a scientific consensus that the world was flat, and that, you know, the sun orbited. Oh, I hear my son. I'm sorry. That the sun orbited the Earth. I think you might have lost Sam. I don't want to argue with.
No. I'm texting my manager about when I'm going to have to work due to my tooth. No, you're fine.
Oh, okay. But I just feel like, you know, this is what's going on right now. I mean, when you do go, if anyone out there wants to go to NASA.gov or the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, it's a PDF. You have to download it. It's like 8 pages long. And I'm just saying that when you know, some people don't trust NASA. I know that, and some people don't trust this and that. But I believe what they're finding. They're saying that the temperature of the surface has gone up. The lowest layer of the atmosphere is the troposphere, and that's where they're finding ozone, and you're not supposed to find that there. You're supposed to find it up higher in the atmosphere.
But we have found ozone up there in times past before we created the combustion engine. It's a regular Earth cycle. It happens, and it's not caused by us.
But they found that the temperature has gone up since, like on the NOAA chart, they found out that it's gone up. They look at 1958, and then they look at the rate of increase even since 1979 has gone up. And there's a cause of this, and it's going up. And that El Nino, if anyone sees an article that says 20 years ago, and that scientist or whoever they interview talks about 20 years ago, that was abnormal.
Yeah, that is circular speaking, hon. That's not true. The people that are using the data sets to prove that the planet is warming are saying it happened in this 20-year period. Then, and there's a lot of scientists, I don't care about this, the consensus, I care about what the data shows. There are scientists that prove the exact opposite. They're all over Lord Monckton's site. That's the easiest place to find it, is Lord Monckton's site. Or ClimateGate. It has a lot of them as well. They are the ones who outlined that it has been 20 years. It is the climate deniers that have been saying that you can span thousands of years and see that we are not warming the planet.
But they've only been looking at this NASA.gov and NOAA. They've only been doing this research since.
Other scientists have taken the data and used it over vast periods of time. That's what I'm saying. NASA's data is greatly skewed to the power source that gives them their money. Because if they don't believe in global warming, they don't.
But the corporations, like they have lobbyists. These corporations have lobbyists that are lobbying these Republicans to say, listen, don't deny global warming because once they put regulation.
Deny because it's fake, not because they're crooked.
But they save money that way. Just think, we could always improve everything that we have. We could, just look at back to the basics. You could improve any part of your life if you want to. And a corporation has a lot of things they can improve. They could filter. These are burning of fossil fuels. This is the burning of fossil fuels that's causing the increase of carbon dioxide. That's what's causing
But that's carbon dioxide is not creating a temperature rise.
It is. It is. That's science. That's what you learn in school.
But with the nature of the atmosphere, that has been disproven time and time again.
No, it's proven.
It isn't proven. There is science. But you're ignoring all the science that goes in the opposite direction.
But that's the greenhouse effect. The greenhouse effect.
The greenhouse effect isn't happening.
It is. It's happening every day. That's just.
It's the normal running of the planet, though. It's nothing at all caused by us. It has been dispelled repeatedly.
But there's been an increase of the temperature. There's been an increase of the temperature, the surface temperature, and an increase of the ozone, and that's what's causing it.
And they are not in proportion to each other, like they say.
What about the sun? What about the sun? I don't
Wait a minute, Anne-Marie, you and I have been sitting there putting our necks out there, and by the way, this is why we hired Anne-Marie. We didn't want a yes person. So if you're watching the show, this is why we hired her. But anyway, you're getting out of this really easy. I think, Anne-Marie, it's time to hear what D-Lake thinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, D-Lake.
All right, well, I have a prepared statement for this because I knew it was going to get pretty rough here. We wanted to talk some today about global warming. I think global warming is offensive to global cooling. I don't think global cooling gets enough recognition. Okay. To be fair, scientists started calling the study climate change, which I like to call the weather. I live in San Diego, the best climate in the world, mostly sunny. Sometimes it rains a little bit. We have some flooding from rain, but, we have to worry about earthquakes and shit, but, very little snow, very little rain. The sea levels and the temperature have been predictably the same range my whole life, spanning more than 20 years. Has anyone questioned if the internet is more harmful to the environment than SUVs? That's the question I have. I can say I don't like pollution. I'm anti-pollution. But I think that's different and separate from man-made global warming. If you think that that's really a thing. That's where I stand on it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Like you come on here with your silly jokes and your ha, but seriously, what about the sun? What about volcanoes? Can I sue a volcano for increasing the carbon dioxide, and the greenhouse effect? Every time a volcano goes off, that's 20 times your fossil fuel burning fucking plant in China. So, who's to blame?
Well,
the sun, God.
Well, last week, Hillary, we were going to talk about this last week. She put her foot in her mouth, and she said she was going to shut down coal miners and put coal miners out of work, which, as a Democrat, you're really not allowed to say that you're going to put unionized workers out of work. But coal mines are not the problem. It's the power companies. They're the biggest burners of the coal, which are the biggest producers of carbon emissions like CO2, and that CO2 causes the greenhouse effect, which causes the temperatures to rise. On the surface, look at our surface temperature has risen. There's graphs on it. Look at NASA.gov. That's what I have to say about that. I don't know. I just feel that these companies want to save money. These corporations want to save money. And I just wish that I don't understand why libertarians, and I wish I could call myself one, like totally. I can't. It's just like religion. I can't call myself Catholic because I don't like that they're anti-gay, they're anti-this, they're anti, everything. And what I'm saying is with libertarians, like I said at the beginning of the show, I like that they have things. They believe in issues for private citizens. As long as you're not impeding on someone else's rights as a private citizen, don't let the government come in and impede on my rights. And, that I agree with. But the second part of what libertarians believe is oh, leave it to the corporations. Let's not let the government regulate. Like we said about the Dick Cheney Halliburton loophole, there is regulations. There was a water act, a safety water act, because sometimes a catastrophe happens, and that's why the government needs to come in and regulate these. We're talking about major things. And I don't want to leave things to the corporations. I just don't want to leave it up to them because they care about making profit. They shut down jobs here in America and left to go to other places, not because they weren't making a profit. They were making a profit.
If they wanted to make a profit, though, they would believe in global warming because it costs more to rack up the price of everything. They would want to believe in global warming because then they could make you pay for the new thing on there, the new filter or the new this or the new that.
I think
it's
they would
more
have to pay
expensive to believe in global warming than to not to.
They might have to pay for a filter or to redo some parts of their factory which are disgusting, or even look at these emissions. I mean, look at even with fracking. We were talking about what do they do with the wastewater. It's called wastewater or salt water injection sites because they don't want to say chemical injection site. It's chemicals. And what are they doing with the chemicals? They're putting it right back into the ground and not deep, not where they're fracking. So, I mean, like that needs to be regulated a little bit. I mean, the states, we were talking about this. They take that wastewater from Pennsylvania and they ship it over to Ohio and stick it in the ground over there. I mean, it's disgusting. Some of these things need to be, the federal government needs to step in and regulate because the corporations, that would cost them more money. What are they supposed to do with this crap when they're done? And it's going into the environment. The excess CO2 is going into the environment. But what happens to it? I mean, or even this wastewater that comes out of fracking. What do they do with that chemical sludge? I mean, someone needs to tell them what to do with it, because they'll just look out for themselves. They'll do whatever's cheapest and easiest, and that's gonna save them money.
But I think that's associative. I actually do agree with what you just said, but I think that's associative. That just because they don't always look out for the best interest doesn't mean that they're wrong on this. I want to do one more real quick. This is another one that I had. It took me a second to find it, and I covered this a while ago. The American Spectator. I think it's Tom Bethel's the author. The False Alert of Global Warming. And I want to get to a couple of the paragraphs here from some of the other side of the science on this. About midway through the article, satellite measurements of atmospheric temperatures do not agree. They began only in 1979 and have shown no significant increase over the last quarter century. Balloon readings did not show an abrupt one-time increase from 76 to 77. Since then, those temperatures have stabilized. Environmentalists believe that the 20th century was caused, 20th century warming, I'm talking like an idiot if you just tuned in due to my tooth, was caused by human activity, primarily the burning of fossil fuels. That produces the carbon dioxide, one of several greenhouse gases. The argument is that their release into the atmosphere wraps the Earth in an invisible shroud. This makes the escape of heat into the outer atmosphere slightly more difficult than its initial absorption from sunlight. This is the greenhouse effect, so the warms up. But the Earth warms up. But whether man-made carbon dioxide emissions have caused measurable temperature increases, and then he's going back 30 years, is debated. Carbon dioxide is itself a benign and essential substance, incidentally. Without it, plants would not grow, and without plant life, animals could not live. Any increase in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere causes plants, trees, and forests to grow more abundantly. It should be a tree hugger's delight. The surface data, it goes on, suggests that the man-made carbon dioxide has not in fact increased global temperatures. From 1940 to 1975, coal-fired power plants emitted fumes with great abandon and without restraint by Greens. Yet the Earth cooled slightly in that time. And if man-made global warming is real, atmospheric as well as surface temperatures should have increased steadily. But they haven't.
They did.
They haven't. There was merely a one-time increase, possibly caused by a solar anomaly. That was the 75, 76. In addition,
the sun again. The sun again.
In addition, an urban heat island effect has been identified. Build a tarmac runway near a weather station, and the nearby temperature readings will automatically go up. And it goes on. I mean, it's a really long article, but that's just the one part that I remembered. You're going to want to look the article up. There is a lot of science in the other direction here.
What's the other direction?
That it isn't warming, I mean.
So there's scientific evidence on both sides. One thing that bothers me is when they don't include the sun in their models for scientifically explaining why the Earth is, changing, why the weather would be changing in any particular area. Now, the effects to the troposphere and the ozone, what are those effects down here on Earth, and how can we feel those? I mean, what's going to happen? It's going to be colder or hotter, less ice?
Hotter. And, like your skin is going to burn. I mean, listen, the surface temperature, if people want, listen, we don't know. I don't personally know. I'm going by the science of NASA.gov. I'm going by NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. I don't ever go by articles. I don't ever go by them because I'm sick of reading.
But the articles have the quotes from scientists. It's not like the guy wrote it and gave his opinion down. I must have listed like 5 or 6 different scientists during this episode.
Right.
Because they're quoted in the article, they have studies too. Their studies deserve to be covered in articles. They're just as scientific as NOAA.
I don't know. I trust NASA.gov and NOAA. If you don't trust it, then you'll go with and people out there will go.
I don't trust them enough that when
those people will be leaving comments down below.
Scientists have proved it wrong. People have left NASA over this and have exposed how NASA has used this to increase its funding, among other things. I would have to, and D-Lex quicker at that, I would have to look up the name of the scientist, but NASA just lost a few of them.
Well, maybe that's where I feel like we're going to wrap this, is by saying that next week we're going to get, just like what happened last week of how we decided to talk about global warming today, next week we're going to talk more about NASA. Sound good?
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right, so everyone do your homework. Get your homework done.
I think NASA, by the way, has done a lot of really great things. I think Obama has destroyed NASA and destroyed our space program. There's never been, well, never is dumb because we've been in space that long. He is the worst space president we've had since we have begun sending things up.
I'm shocked by this. I'm shocked. I'm totally shocked right now because I thought libertarians, and this is where I differ from libertarians on this point, is libertarians are always saying, take the government out and leave it to the private sector, leave it to the corporations, and leave it to rich people. And what President Obama did, which is shocking to me, is actually said, let's leave some of this space program to the private sector, like Elon Musk.
I don't mind that.
Yeah, that's happening.
What was originally wanted was it was supposed to be when you did your taxes, which, again, I'm for abolishing the IRS, but in any event, you were allowed to check whether or not you wish to fund NASA, was the original plan. I do think we shouldn't be forced on this. That I do agree with. But it was like would you like to donate to the presidential campaign question they always ask you. Or in Ohio, they give you a chance, would you like to donate $1 to the blind children when you're...
I think it was Kyle that said it before, that like NASA could raise a shit ton of money if they had a mission that the American people wanted to get behind,
Yeah. Originally, it was supposed to be...
And then we're letting England and these other places land their satellites on asteroids before us. I mean, come on, man. We got to get back out there in space, is what I say. But let's try to wrap, and let's try to save that for next week's NASA talk. I think that's going to be a great show. I think today has been an awesome show. We started talking about eating pizza with a fork, and the next thing you know, we're talking about greenhouse effect and all this other stuff. All right, let's get into some Sam science news, if that wasn't already scientific-y enough. Did you already get your science out in a way, Sam, or did you have a story?
Well, because everybody, I'm going to make it quick because we have done a lot of science, but this I'm going to make it real quick. Michael Snyder, End of the American Dream, Planet 9 or Planet X, new evidence of a mystery object in the periphery of our solar system. An astronomer at Caltech says the new evidence has been discovered that indicates that there is a massive planet lurking somewhere on the outer edges of the solar system. I am of a firm believer that Pluto should be a planet because it has cleared its immediate orbit. It's just because it's smaller that clearing was smaller. Well, a lot of people have said the opposite. One thing is for sure. If this thing is real, it is definitely going to clear its path. It has been dubbed Planet 9, but that's only because, as I mentioned, Pluto is not considered anymore to be a planet. If included, this new astronomical body would be known as Planet 10 or Planet X. But scientists it's very hard to avoid using the term Planet X because it's associated with so many conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
What's interesting is when you get into this, the orbit of the planet looks like it might be exactly what they said Planet X was. So they're avoiding it even further.
Nibiru?
Based on new evidence that has emerged, it is believed that Planet 9 is approximately 20 times further away from the Sun than Neptune is, so it's probably quite cold, and is being projected that it would take somewhere between 10,000 and 20,000 years for this planet to make one trip around the Sun. In other words, Caltech doesn't want to admit that they may have found the planet that just handed their ass to them. And all the conspiracies have quite likely been proven correct. And I mean, why are they called conspiracy nuts? Because they realize that different cultures at different sides of the world that never met each other knew about the orbit of a very strange planet. So you're called a conspiracy theorist if you just look at it, I guess. It says, perhaps due to part to his legal training, the author writes, I have always been skeptical when it comes to things like this. When anyone has tried to tell me about Planet X in the past, he always said that he wanted to see proof. Well, this comes from the Independent. Objects have been spotted moving around unusually at the edge of the solar system. And the best explanation for the strange orbits is the mysterious Planet 9. According to scientists who he argued that the hidden planet exists. And in January, the pair of scientists argued that they found another planet based on calculations being objects at the distant end of our solar system. By studying the orbit of 6 objects in the Kuiper Belt, a mysterious area thought to be filled with asteroids and icy objects, we're always talking about it here at Media Speaks, they argued that they are being affected by something that is large and previously unknown. This is from Mike Brown at Caltech. This was in Daily Mail. Last week, Mike Brown tweeted a photo of a shot. It's a plot of a newly discovered eccentric Kuiper Belt object. In the past, Brown wrote, Planet 9 fans, a new eccentric KBO was discovered, and it's exactly where Planet 9 says it would be. The KBO in question, you can look it up, it's UO3L91, shown with a solid blue line in the graph. Brown writes that the side comes from a recent talk of the SETI Institute, and that this discovery was made from the outer solar system origins of the Canada-France-Hawaii telescope. And
cool.
Back in January, NASA refused to confirm or deny that a new planet exists, and it was in a video by Jim Green, director of NASA, that addressed the new findings. The January 20th paper of the Astronomical Journal is fueling our interest in planetary exploration. He said it's too early to say with certainty that there's a Planet X out there, but that NASA is going to look into it. So it looks like there's at least a good likelihood that all the people that have been saying that there is something else out there, there is. And as to it being ice cold, we've covered at different times that particularly on some of the moons of Saturn, if the rotation gets big enough, then certain things will heat. And that is caused usually by one of two things. If a little body, like a Saturn moon, is beside a huge body, like Saturn, then the internal spinning will heat up enough for liquid water where life can form. The other way that happens, give me a drum roll, D-Lake, give me a good drum roll. The other way that happens is if the planet is huge and it spins that way, the internal core can heat the outside even if it's isolated by itself. So there is a slight chance that if this is a Neptune-sized planet, and it's not just a gas planet, which they think it could be, which I've always argued they shouldn't be planets, but that's another day. If it's not, then it could be at least warm enough to harbor some kind of life. I'm not saying it's got life on it, but it's possible, even though it's so far from the sun. So yes, I had to do.
That was weird. Right when Sam did that, he jumped, clicked out. But I managed to find this awesome Quark comic. Pluto, have you heard the news? We might be a 9-planet solar system again, says a big red planet to little Pluto. Pluto's like, wait, what? Can it really be true? Yes! Try not to get too excited since we're still not positive yet, but Earth says the math checks out. Great stars, I can't believe it. After all these years of being demoted to a dwarf planet, it's really happening. You guys want me back in? This is the best day of my life, says Pluto, really excited right there. Hold on. You thought I meant you? That's rich.
I got clicker happy.
All right. Sam, you're back. That's great. I was just doing a little, showing off little Quark comics here. It's pretty funny stuff. Pluto thought he was back in, but doesn't really look that way. Looks like Planet 9 is on the rise. What is it? Great news from the science front. Sam, IB, and Nick Angie. Let's segue into a little entertainment news. What have you guys seen that's been new, fresh, and exciting lately? Anne, how about you?
Oh, let's see. Oh, I don't know.
I said new and exciting. You're like, I've just been watching movies from the 80s.
Oh, yes. I was watching The Burbs last night. It was on Roku.
Burbs.
I love it with Tom Hanks. And let's see. I don't know. I need a minute to think. I'm not sure what I've. Oh, I know what I saw. I saw Drew Barrymore and her husband are getting a divorce, they said. And she has like 2 little kids with him. And they were like, it's sad news because she said that she really always wanted to have a family. And she had like a horrible childhood. And
I'd have a family with Drew Barrymore.
I didn't know. There was Lionel Barrymore, and then the other. Like, she comes from a long line of actors. It's a shame that she had a bad childhood. What happened to her?
She was addicted to drugs at like a really young age.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Drew Barrymore has been in movies since she was a little teeny girl. She was the fire starter.
She was amazing in Fire.
She was in E.T.
There we go. There she is. There's young Drew Barrymore. She grew up in Hollywood. I mean, she was in a bunch of movies. She was in E.T., The Cat's Eye, Irreconcilable Differences, getting a divorce from her parents as a little kid in a movie.
I do believe Drew has always secretly wanted me. It's true. All right,
she's one of Charlie's Angels. She's great with Adam Sandler. Such a great. Now she's getting a divorce, and the kids are, oh man, just like that movie Irreconcilable Differences. Do you remember this movie, Ann?
No, I don't remember that. I loved E.T. I saw E.T. like when I was a little kid in the movie theater. I wanted to see.
Oh yeah.
I loved that movie, and I mean, I think that she's like. I just feel bad for her because I think like when you have 2 little kids. It always seems that people get divorced like around with the age of 2 years old. Like it sounds like one of her kids is like around that age, and she had like postpartum depression after that birth of her last kid, and she did interviews about how rough it was after she had that, and I don't know. I just feel bad because she said that she always wanted a family, and she kind of made this family of her own. So but good luck to Drew Barrymore. I'm sure she'll fine. She's still young.
Isn't she married to Mike Green or some Green or
Oh, Tom Green. Yeah, that's right, Tom Green.
She was married to Tom Green.
Yeah.
She isn't?
No, that was
She was.
She was, but this is a different husband that she's divorced.
Oh, I thought this was the same one. She's already divorced. See, I don't follow stuff. She's divorced Tom Green then.
Yeah, that didn't last long. It was like she was with him when he had like testicular cancer or something like that.
He only had one ball and like he had the cancer, but I think he worked through it. But yeah, I don't know. But this movie you have to see, Anne, called Irreconcilable.
You lose a ball and you lose Drew Barrymore. I'd have hung myself.
Well, I mean, how many girls get boob jobs and then leave their husbands? Come on. Look, this movie, Irreconcilable Differences, you have to see it, Anne, if you've never seen it. She's in court. She's in court divorcing her parents. It's a little girl that wants to divorce her parents. Have you heard of it?
No, I mean I've never heard of this movie. I'd love to.
Sam, you've seen this. She goes to court to divorce her rich, fancy pants parents, right?
Yes, and it's not to be confused with the movie about the epileptic who divorced her parents to be able to have a surgery. That was another one. Yes.
Mhm. But this one, it's kind of a dramedy, kind of a drama comedy, but it's pretty good. It's from the 80s, or I mean, it's from when she was a little girl like that. Now she's all grown up and doing grown-up stuff, like getting divorces and stuff. Yeah, it is sad. Since we're going down the sadness lane, I guess it's a time for Sam's obituary before I try to...
I'll do the obituary first, then. All right. This is for all of the older listeners. Oscar-winning actress Patty Duke dies at age 69. Died of sepsis, which is what killed my mom, as a matter of fact. Patty Duke passed away on Tuesday at the age of 69. As she was born, Ann Duke died of sepsis from a ruptured intestine. Duke won the Academy Award at the age of 16 for her role as Helen Keller in The Miracle Worker.
Oh, that movie is great.
That was her. After the Oscar, Duke took on a role that she'd become known for, Different Cousins with Patty and Kathy Lane on The Patty Duke Show. She was born in Queens in 1946, had a difficult childhood. Her mother putting 2 talent agents in charge of her care when she was just 8. She had success at the age of 13, played Keller on Broadway, opposite Anne Bancroft. Of course, she went on to do great things as well. Having conquered Broadway and film, she set her sights on TV with The Patty Duke Show. She was nominated for an Emmy and a Golden Globe for her dual role on the show, playing both fun-loving American teenager Patty and her refined, proper look-alike cousin Kathy. Again, she'd been around forever, just for a very, very long time. Was working, it looked like pretty much all the way up to the end here.
Sean Astin is her son? I never knew that.
Who's Sean Astin?
This actor, he's been in a bunch of stuff. He was in the Lord of the Rings.
Oh,
okay.
And
Okay.
The what?
The Goonies. Remember, wasn't he in the Goonies?
I think so.
He may have been. That's awesome. We love you.
His mom is dead. This is Patty Duke's son.
He overdosed on pills on more than one occasion. And she had a divorce in 1970 after 5 years of marriage. She had all kinds of problems, and you find intestinal problems with people that have had pill issues. Kind of my don't overdo your pills there warning. She was, her son was in Lord of the Rings. Yes, you're right. So unfortunately, Miss Patty Duke no longer with us. She was even a singer. So I mean, there you go.
Yeah, Patty Duke.
But I've got like other entertainment news about the living.
Okay, what? About what?
Living people.
Oh, well, great. Well, great. Thank you. Sam's obituary, everyone. Sam's obituary.
No, but
got it out of the way so we can bring it back. Go ahead, Sam.
Serge Knight hobbles into court after undergoing emergency surgery for a busted appendix. And the judge tells him he needs to start working out.
Suge Knight has a busted appendix.
In other words, the judge pretty much called Suge Knight a fatso and said he needs to work out. Suge Knight mowed somebody over, I believe, with his car, allegedly. He killed the man, and now he's saying my appendix ruptured. Have mercy on me. But the 50-year-old Death Row Records founder hobbled his way to the defense table as he clutched his stomach and grunted in pain, probably like the gentleman that he ran over with his car. He told Judge Ronald Cohen that not only did he have surgery, but he had an abscess near his colon. That's dreadful. And it requires another procedure and a catheter for his heart, into his heart for antibiotics. I don't like the man. I think the music that he made pretty much sucked. It's the soundtrack of a dying country. He ruined American music, but I don't wish that on him. I do think it's ironic that the man who ran somebody over is saying, I'm in pain. But in any event, no, I'm not happy.
Right. Well, how nice, how nice and how mean of you at the same time, Sam. That's great. Speaking of another...
Dead. But, yeah, I mean, he said he was in real pain for like 3 weeks. So Suge Knight needs to...
be in pain for 4 weeks.
He needs to stay out of the commissary.
And don't run people over and jack up people's music careers and all that stuff. Okay, a 100-year-old woman booted from her home in the Palm Desert. Now, I clicked on this link right before we went live. Anne-Marie and I were like, what's the whole story? I'm like, I don't know. We'll figure it out later. We got to go live. Here's the story, Ann. Why was a 100-year-old woman booted from her Palm Desert home? Apparently it was for making a bunch of noise, is why I clicked this. Evelyn Heller, a frail but feisty great-grandmother with a long white ponytail, shuffled across the Palm Springs courtroom, barely lifting her feet, taking tiny steps. When she reached the judge's bench, she eased forward onto her toes, then leaned in close, as if unable to see the man in front of her. I'm 100 years old, Heller shouted before turning her attention to an attorney on the other side of the courtroom. And I don't understand why they're taking me out. Heller, a Coachella Valley resident who was born in 1915, was evicted from her Palm Desert apartment during a brief trial at the Palm Springs courthouse on Friday morning. Despite reluctance voiced by both the judge and the plaintiff's attorney, Heller was ordered out of her home and told to pay $616 in prorated rent and more than $800 in court and attorney's fees. She now has about 2 weeks to leave her apartment. Heller said she does not know where she will go. I have 4 grandsons, but I don't want to be dependent on them, Heller told the judge, pleading. Then Drew Barrymore called her and said, are your grandsons cute? Maybe you can live with me. She said, I can't be a burden to my family. And Drew Barrymore said, I've always wanted a family. And she said, they don't have room for me. And Drew said, we do. That happens in life. So, okay, maybe I'm cross-referencing stories here, but it sounds like if Drew Barrymore gets in touch with this 100-year-old lady that's been kicked out of her house, now... Why was she kicked out?
What did she do?
Okay, the apartment said it wanted Heller evicted because she often had loud, disruptive arguments with one of her daughters. The company threatened to evict her twice before, but nothing improved, so it followed through this time. The apartment complex manager, Melody Morrison, also told a judge that Heller kept the apartment in deplorable conditions. A Desert Sun reporter who visited the apartment on Friday afternoon found the carpet dirty and the living room cluttered with boxes and stacks of magazines. Sounds like my house. But far from the point of hoarding. Yeah, I don't want to go hoarding. That's going too far. After court, Morrison declined to comment. Then she walked briskly away from a reporter and got a call from Drew Barrymore. All right, well, what do you guys think? Should she have been evicted? She's 100 years old. I mean, of course she has loud arguments.
Well, I thought it was going to...
All her arguments are like, I've lived 100 years!
That, and I mean, I imagine her TV is probably very loud in order for her to be able to hear. But I mean, she's 101. How much time could she have? I mean, I hope
if things work out with Drew, then possibly we'll have to wait and see.
I hope we're talking about her 5 years from now. I really do, God willing. Yeah. I mean, but
if we're talking about her 5 years from now, I think she'll be breaking a record because I think our oldest right now is only like 104.
Look that up real quick while this popped in while we went on air. I'm not a fan of the band. I actually think they blow goats, but it's an interesting story. One of the bands that killed rock and roll, Puddle of Mud singer, in an armed standoff with cops as 30 officers storm his Los Angeles home. I knew I disliked his music. It looks like a few other people do too. Wes Scantlin got in a standoff with dozens of armed officers at his home in L.A., TMZ reported. Now, this might have been because everybody, even Drew Barrymore, hates his music. No, I'm doing it. Officers were called last month about a burglary on a car parked on Scantlin's driveway, law enforcement sources told the website. The Puddle of Mud singer, 43, dashed inside the house when police arrived and refused to get out. Cops tried to get Scantlin to cooperate. It was unsuccessful. They had 30 armed officers show up, and they can be seen during the arrest pointing a rifle at him. The standoff reportedly lasted a couple of hours until officers broke down his back door and escorted him out. He can be seen in another arrest photo with his hands behind his back as the officer walks him out of the house. He's wearing a hoodie, jeans, and sneakers. Who cares? He pleaded not guilty in February to felony vandalism filed after being arrested at a home that his house was being foreclosed on. So it looks like, unfortunately, Puddle of Mud is in deep trouble. I've never known why they became a success to begin with. I always thought they sucked. But it looks like things are going bad for them at this point, which, again, I don't want to see the guy.
Yeah, that's a terrible name, Puddle of Mud. Stupid.
They were awful, but I mean, I don't know if he's awful. I've never even heard them. He might be the nicest guy ever, so I'm not happy it happened. But it came up as a blurb and seems to be trending right now, so I went and got it.
Apparently the oldest living guy is 112. There he is. Survived the Holocaust. His family survived both world wars.
Good for him.
Yeah. His name's Israel Crystal.
I know we have somebody in camp was like 103 or something. I don't know if the lady's still with us or not. I heard a couple of years ago, so maybe not.
Anything in triple digits is pretty good.
I watched Half Baked. If talking of old movies, if you want to watch a hilarious movie from back in the day, you can enjoy that movie even if you've never smoked pot. It's one of the only pot movies like that.
It's a good movie. Jon Stewart's everyone's hilarious in that movie, even the cameos. But I think it's been a great show, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We talked about a bunch of stuff, including Trump and other politicians that eat their pizza with a fork. I mean, come on. And that's just not New York values, okay? You pick up the pizza and you just eat it. I mean, you can fold it, whatever, but just eat that pizza like a normal pizza-eating person. We got into global warming. That got heated, if you know what I'm saying. But we cooled it down, so everything was good. And then we got into the entertainment section, the obituary, and Patty Duke, and the Patty Duke Show, and all that other stuff. And, you know, I think it's just been great. So let's all look forward to another great, amazing show, probably even better than this one next week as we continue to get better and better. And also, we're so excited every week lately to be inviting Anne-Marie onto the show. Anne-Marie, people can find you on themediaspeaks.com now on YouTube, so that's where they can look for you. And Sam, where can people find you?
TheCorrectViews at hotmail.com, and I'm also the only person on Tumblr still. I thought there was another person. Nope, it was my shadow.
Right, yeah.
It's on Tumblr, and you can get a hold of me at TheCorrectViews at hotmail.com, of course, youtube.com/TheCorrectViews. I just did my...
Oh, I can't hear you.
I just did my April Fool's joke, so all the weird, silly characters. Buddy Puff is there. Jimmy Joe.
Oh no!
Arg, the April Fool's show is up. And
I gotta watch
is
it.
the funniest.
I gotta watch it.
It is the funniest. That was the call that I was looking for, so I'm going to mute out. And
All right.
wonderful having you on, friends. That's why we brought her on. Dissenting viewpoints make for an interesting show.
Great, Sam. Thanks. Thanks for joining us. Awesome. Anne-Marie, are you starting a new website? Is there a place where people can find you on the internet or what?
It's right here.
Okay, great. Well, I just bought a couple of domain names last night. I was kind of drunk, and I was like, I got a great idea. And I bought 2 domain names. I'll tell you about them later. But I might be doing like some movie reviews or some other stuff on there. We'll see. But thank you, everyone, for joining us. Go find me on themediaspeaks.com on YouTube, and also look for my personal channel, David Lake, with Captain America Shield. It's awesome and amazing. Been doing it a long time. Thanks, everybody.